Hello, everybody. What's up? It is Mr. Keith Bowers. I'm back. And today or tonight, whenever you listen to this, got another guest for you. It's my brother from another mother. One of my brother's best friends and one of mine as well, Mr. Tony Ward.
Hey.
I've known Tony since he was probably 12. So we go back, way back. Tony, shout out everybody.
Way back. What's up, man? Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It's Sunday as we're recording this, Sunday afternoon. That's family time. So I know how that goes.
It's all good. We just got back from the park. I got 3 little ones, so we just got back from the park. One's going to take a nap. The other ones are kind of doing their thing, and my wife is out there with them. So hopefully they don't find me in this back room in my garage and bother
it's
me.
all good. Impromptu interruptions. It's all good. We welcome it all.
Yes, sir.
We welcome it all. First off, I want to shout out your podcast. Go ahead with it. I've been telling people about it. What's your podcast about, man? I'll let you talk.
Yeah, so Dad's Whiskey Cave is the name of it. It's me and my great friend named Peter. We do a podcast. We're both dads. We have young kids, all under 6 or 7. Actually, his son just turned 7. So we have kids under 7, and we just talk about dad stuff, random things, growing up in the 80s, 90s. That type of stuff, but we try to touch on some dad issues as well, like parenting things and stuff we kind of go through as dads and dad dilemmas and things like that. So it's an interesting show, and tune in if you guys like this show. You'll probably like mine as well. So Dad's Whiskey Cave. Thank you, man.
Right on. Yeah. Tony actually is the one that gave me the spark, I'll call it, for starting my podcast. He told me, hey man, I got a podcast. This was almost a year ago now. And I went ahead and listened, and I was like, all right, I got to hit my man up. What did you buy? What did you get? How did you do it? How did you start? A lot easier than you. It's a lot easier than you think, guys. Not sitting here with a big old switchboard or anything like that. Tony probably is,
You could be, and just so people get the background on me, I do DJing on the side, not as my full career, and we'll get into what my full career is, I'm sure. But so I had a lot of the equipment, and I said, you know what? And I'm like you, Keith, where I listen to podcasts all the time, and some of them are great, and I have my ones that I go to, and then every now and again you want to try a new one, right? And you'll go and you'll listen to it, and you go, man, these guys ain't talking about nothing, or it's just trash, or the quality's not there, or whatever it might be. And I'm like, I think I got the interesting stuff that people may want to hear. And if not, hey, it's for me, and it's for me and my friends, and we just want to listen to things, and maybe it's something you can have for the in your old man listening. Go, let me go back and listen to my podcast that I made 25 years ago. Like this might be something fun, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that's the whole reason, or one of the reasons I started it. I said to myself when I was coming up with my idea for my podcast, I said to myself, I had or I'd even told you before, I have a responsibility. Like everybody's like, oh, how come it's not Def Comedy Jam? Pretty much F this, F that. I said, here's the thing. Right. We all know each other. I mean, it's not that we all have deep, dark secrets or nothing, but where I'm going with this. But because that day's going to come, whether we like it or not, or whether we realize it or not, when, your grandkids, or dare I say great grandkids, this world is still spinning, who was he? I see this picture of him, but who was he? And we live in a world where our generation is the first generation that goes from analog to digital. So what I mean by that is, there is no physical media for us right now, until they make it trendy, like they're trying to do LPs.
Right.
40, 50 years from now, 60 years from now, when somebody that you may have never met wants to know who you were because they see your picture, all they're going to have is today, is these stories. Yeah. And it's a real big thought if you chew on it for a bit. And I said to myself, Do I want them, hearing a story about me, perhaps making a right turn from the left turn lane because I was that gone one night? Like, no, what I mean, we got them. We got those stories, but I was like, no, I would like, there's so much more than that. And I mean, some of those stories, at least in my podcast, will fall out of our mouths from time to time because that's not necessarily who we are today, but it's who we were at times. So, but yeah, man, I mean, this, we're doing this thing because it's fun now, but in the future, we really don't know what the impact's going to be to people who come after us. It'd be really cool to be 60, 70 some years old and some young family member tap you on the shoulder and go, "Hey man, I heard about how you you had to wipe off the toilet seat because people was tagging up the toilet seat at the gym. I heard you." That's in Tony's podcast. Like, your mind. I still get it when people text me, "Man, I'll never forget the time," and like you have to chew on it for a bit. Like, wait, I did what? Yeah. Oh, like that'll be cool to hear your voice and know, like, oh man, wow, you become your own time machine in a way, like music.
Yeah. And I think it's a great thing, man, just to have those time capsules and stuff like that. Because once this is out there, it's out there, and again, you want to be obviously careful with certain things and memories and stuff like that, just because, like you said, you want people to know certain things about you. But it's a cool thing to have, man, and a good platform just to even have it for your own personal records. A lot of people don't get to know things about you, and this is cool. So I love the concept. I love that you're asking people about what they wanted to be and what they are now and all that stuff. I think it's awesome because that discussion doesn't happen that often. When you come up with even when you're talking amongst friends, like, oh, this isn't what I thought I'd be doing. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and with that nice segue there, or here, what did you want to be when you were growing up, Mr. Tony?
Well, that is a interesting question. So I wanted to be when I was a kid, I wanted to be a fortune cookie writer. No, I'm
Shut up, fool. Okay. I was like,
I love fortune cookies, and I just wanted to write the little notes inside. No, that is a real job, so more power to those people. But no, when I was a kid, it was, and I'm thinking maybe for teenage years, I wanted to be everything under the sun. So it was all over the place, man. It was like, one day I wanted to be a pastor. Another day I wanted to be a fireman. Another day I wanted to be a DJ, like a radio DJ host. My dad worked in radio, so a lot of that kind of went into a little bit of the stuff that I wanted to be as well. So entertainment, things like that. So it was all over the board a little bit. One thing I did know that I was going to do, just because it was kind of instilled in my family, was I was going to go to college and major in something. It was one of those things where it wasn't like a forced thing that my family said, you got to go to college, because that wasn't the vibe. But it definitely was. Both my parents went to college. It was just kind of one of those things where you felt like once you're done with high school, that's your next step, right? And so unless you found something else, which at that point I hadn't. And so after graduating high school, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I played basketball in high school. I had, I loved like movies and entertainment, but I didn't have a pathway of exactly what I wanted until I got to college. And then I fell in love with a criminal justice class that I took. And so after taking that class, I was like, man, well, let me look into the criminal justice system and see what I could be. Cause I didn't know if I wanted to be like, a regular beat cop type of thing. But I said, let me see what's out there. And there's a bunch of different things that are out there. And so I looked into law enforcement. I wanted to be like DEA, FBI, some type of agent for one of those 3-letter agencies that are out there. Gotcha. And so that was kind of the goal that I put in my brain early in my college years. And so I kind of strive for that. And went, criminal justice was my master's or my major. And then I got a master's degree as well in that. So
where did you go to college, Tony?
So I went to 3 different colleges. So I went to The Ohio State, go Buckeyes, for about a year and a half during my freshman. That's where I took that criminal justice class. And then I moved back home because it was just too cold out there and way too expensive. And so I moved back home to California, where I'm still in California, even though Keith left everybody. I'm still here.
I think they know that by now. I've gotten a lot of hate texts. Why you crapping on California, man? It ain't that bad, man. I'm like, look, I'm just telling you my perspective, man.
Call me in the wintertime, brother, and I'll let you know when I'm jumping in the pool.
There you go. There you go.
So, but it does come with I understand 100% the reason why you left and other people move and all that stuff, because we thought about it too a few years ago during the pandemic. We almost was up out of here. There's a lot of perks and there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to living in California. So I just leave it at that.
Right.
No,
that's
I
true.
am here. Yeah, it's true. So there are some pros and cons, but everybody's got their own story and their own lives, and so I'll never say any hate for nobody leaving. But I'm still here for now, and you never know what happens in the future. But so when I came back from Ohio State, I wanted to try to go to a school here. So I went to Long Beach State University, which is in Long Beach, California, and graduated from there with my bachelor's in criminal justice, and then started working in the field of banking. I kind of started the banking in college, so probably around 2001, 2002, when I was about 20, 21 years old.
Was this just a job that you just got because you're in college and you need something to do?
Exactly what it was. So I was just a teller. Some friends that worked there, they said, hey, we can get you a job, because before that, I've been working since I was 16. So my first job was at Mervyn's. If you want to date yourself on that,
nothing wrong with Mervyn's. Get your St. John's Bay in,
yeah. So great, it was a great work experience, and then had a couple of odd-end jobs after that at the college on campus in Ohio, and then when I came back home, I did the United States Postal Service. So I was a mailman.
Shut up! Were you really?
Yeah, yes, I was for about 3 months.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Pause. Because I don't know when I'll get another mailman on the podcast. So you got to tell us about that. How did that... I mean, I imagine you applied. Did you have to take a test? Did they give you a fake mail truck with cones in a parking lot and you go?
No, it wasn't that serious. But I mean, kind of. But it was like I was 18, maybe 19 years old, and applied because the pay was something ridiculous back then. It was like $16-17, which was unheard of back then.
Oh, you could have retired at 30,
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is good. And I knew they had a good benefits, all that other stuff, right? So I was like, let me get my foot in there and do that. And so basically, it was kind of like that, where you have to get a particular license. I didn't have to apply for a license, but they did do a training course to make sure you reversed and didn't hit stuff and all that stuff. Little tiny truck.
Shut up, really?
It's not even that much bigger than a car, so it's not hard. But the hard part is that you're on the other side of the car.
Yeah.
So that's the hard. So
that's what I had in mind when I asked that question. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're driving in like Europe. I think they do it on the other side of the car. So you definitely had to take some courses to learn how to maneuver the car, the vehicle, and things like that. But it was because of the size of it, it wasn't too bad. And so, it probably took a few weeks for me to learn how to do that. And then you the sorting of the mail is really probably the hardest part of the job. And that's where you go in early in the morning, and they give you a big old bucket of mail. And then you have in front of you like these slots that have all these different addresses of your route, right? I don't know how they organize the big bucket they give you, but all that stuff has to be put in these slots. So you put it in, and you have it in order. And then when you take them out, that's the order basically that you're driving around on these streets, right? And so as you're driving, you got, let's just say address 1, 2, 3, and then you got their mail and put it in the box. And then you have address 1, 2, 3, 4 right behind it. There, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom. So it's organized. I get it, but it takes a long time to organize that mail in the morning, and then you just go out and deliver it. And it was an interesting job. And so I'll give you a quick story because I don't want to take up too much time on this. But the reason I quit the job was because it was my birthday, and I'd been there about 3 or 4 months, and it was already kind of stressful. And it was like probationary period. I never even got my true like mailman outfit or whatever uniform.
You didn't get that? Oh, okay.
I didn't get the hat. I didn't get the little satchel. Nothing. And so I think you had to stay on for like 5 or 6 months before you did that. And so I was just in shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of the summer.
Oh.
My birthday's in August, and I'm just delivering mail. I'm in the official truck though, so I looked official. But
this is pre-Amazon vehicle that'll just pull up to your house at all hours of the night, and you just assume never a safer time to be a criminal. Exactly. You just assume, oh, this dude is all right, he must be delivering something.
He's delivering something, right? And so the way that they have these mail bins, and I'm sure you've seen them, but they're basically like buckets, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where all the mail is sorted in order in these buckets, and you have them in various places around your truck. So there's a sliding door on the opposite side of the vehicle. So if you're driving on the right side, it's on the left side, and like 2 or 3 of those buckets are stacked up. So that door is just a sliding door, kind of like a Astro van door from back in the day. And so I was driving. That door latches. I don't even know if it locks, but it definitely latches. And I was driving, doing my delivery, and I made a right turn somewhere, and I hear the door open, and I hear the door close. And I was like, what the hell was that? And so this is right in the middle of an intersection. I get out the car, and I see mail all over the intersection. Getting ran over. All out of order now. 2 buckets just done, right? So
my gosh.
Man, this is my birthday. And again, I was already kind of over the job.
On your birthday, golly.
On my birthday. So and some people had a party plan for me and stuff like that. So I had to be home on time.
I know where the story's going, I think.
So I go back to the place. I had to call them. This is before like cell phone. Well, before I had a cell phone. Some people probably had them, but I had to call from like a local gym or somewhere, some business, and say, hey man, I dropped 2 buckets of mail, which is like probably 30, 40 houses of mail, right? And they said, oh, you got to come back and resort it. And I'm like, So they're like, finish what you're delivering and then come back, resort it. Then you got to go back out and deliver. So if you ever seen a mailman rolling around at like 8 p.m., probably because
I have.
It's probably because they did something like I did.
I just thought they were really busy. I've seen that more than once in my neighborhood today. Like, yeah.
It's a little bit mixture of that. So anyway,
but wait. So wait, hold on. The mail went out in the street. Did you park and just like flag everybody down? Hey, stop!
Yep.
Shut
that's
up.
Exactly
really?
What I did. I parked that little thing sideways, man, and I was just picking up mail.
I pick up these Mervyn's coupons. These Bed Bath & Beyond 20% off. Yeah.
Hey, the mail is important, man. And you lose a piece. I don't know if I would have got fired or anything like that for losing mail, but definitely got in trouble. And so as I'm delivering these things, I got 2 buckets in the back out of order. I'm not delivering that, right? And so
right.
I had a couple people come up, like as I'm like, let's say you're going through a cul-de-sac and you turn around, and one dude's like, he steps to the corner and looking all mad. It's older gentleman, and I'm like, oh,
of course, angry man.
Like, yo, hey, where's my Social Security check? It comes every day on this and that. I said, man, I dropped the mail. It's going to be at the main location. I'm calling your manager. He did, and they called me. And he was mad and this and that. So it was a very long day. I didn't get done with my shift till like 9 p.m. Birthday party's already going off without me. I got there, and then they was the next morning like, hey, come back in. I said, you know what? I got to put my 2 weeks in. I'm done. And it was partly my fault, but it was already a stressful job as it is. So more power to them. But at that time, it was wild. So
yeah, no. And how old were you at this time?
Like 19, 20
at
the most.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We had the freedom to do that back then. I mean, not that we should. Young people don't listen to this, but when you don't have a family, that's like, where's your mail check, daddy?
Yeah, right.
You know, like, it's like, you know what? This was tough. Deuce, I'm out.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need this stress right now because again, in my brain at that point, at being 20, 21 years old, I was already thinking I'm going into law enforcement, so I don't need this. So I was like, I already made my mind up. I'm already in college for criminal justice, and it was just it was taking up too much time. I was going to school, so it was just
I would imagine. Yeah,
it was just.
That's why you shocked me with the mail. I'm like, wait, how with school?
The money just sounded good, so. So anyway, that led me to banking. A friend of mine was like, "Yeah, I work down at Wells Fargo. Come apply. It's pretty cool, and they work around your school schedule, all that." And it was exactly that, man. I was a teller there. Ended up becoming a lead teller there for a few years. Loved it. They were great with the school schedule. Awesome. You know, everybody that was working there was around my age, so that was a lot of fun. Going out afterwards, all that happy hours, and all that. So it was just super cool vibe working at the physical bank. But I knew, again, law enforcement was in my future. So fast forward, graduate college, I start applying. Let's get into it. And my goal was to be FBI, DEA, maybe LAPD, and then grow one day to be, like a detective or something like that. And I just kept hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, and it made zero sense because I had kept my nose clean for many, many years because I knew that was what I wanted to do. So no drugs, no crazy criminal offenses, nothing like that. I drank a little bit here and there, when I was of age, but it definitely wasn't anything like in my system that, we're going to test you and see if you ever had this, or if I had to take a lie detector test, am I not going to pass? No, nothing like that, right? Not because I wanted to do any of those things, but just because I knew that I was going to be in law enforcement. Let me just keep my record as clean and easy as possible. I was in the best shape of my life, If you remember,
he was in your prime, okay.
21, 22, I was in shape. And I'm like, and it's probably some other brothers way better shape than me, but I was in good shape for my age. Lean, mean, could do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, everything you need to do.
Right.
Fastest, run a mile in, under 7 minutes or whatever it was. All the requirements, blew that stuff out of the water. No big deal. But like I said, I just kept hitting roadblocks. And I think...
What were those... I'm sorry not to cut you off, but with that said, because... and I may have gone over this, guys, or I may not have. One thing about this podcast, one of the... I guess you could call it reasons. One of the things I had in mind is you said your age. You're about 19, 20, maybe even 21. There's people maybe right now or in the future that will listen to this, and they're at that age. If they were interested in going into law enforcement, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and for you guys that don't know, Tony Ward is a clean cut dude. Like he was never out there thugging, or anything like that. You speak of roadblocks, though. What kind of roadblocks, if you don't mind speaking about it, did you come up against? Because, it sounds like you had all your ducks in a row. Was this like your personal life, or is it something that they just said no because of, whatever? They heard you drop mail in the street,
Yeah, right. Yeah, they
bad government employee.
Because they dig into everything, right? Whether you got let go of a job, whether you got, drug charges, whatever you got, right? So I kept all that stuff clean. And to be honest with you, I really don't know, man. The roadblocks happened because they didn't really have to tell you anything because you have all these different tests that you take, right? And so they'll say, oh, you passed physical, you passed this, you passed that. Then you go on to like an interview stage. You meet with the people, and I'm a pretty good interviewer. I've never, had a problem with stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you just get a letter in the mail. They go, oh, we've decided to go with other candidates. Thank you for your application. So you never really get those. And I think a part of it is, and again, there's no hate to my law enforcement people out there or nothing like that, because I'm not hating on it at all. But I think at that time, 20 plus years ago, because I was about 22, 23 when I was applying for everything, maybe a little older, probably from 22 to like 27, I was doing these applications. I feel like in law enforcement and other types of industries like that, sometimes you had to almost have a connection to get in.
Okay.
A lot of times you see, hey, my dad's cousin is the captain, or you have a whole family of people that have been cops, right? And they're like, oh, my dad's a cop, my two brothers are cops, my uncle's a cop, my brother, and I'm not saying that's the only reason that people get in, but it almost seemed like at that time you could get turned away just because nobody was representing you like that. And I had nobody that I knew that was a cop or a family member that was a cop or anything like that. I was just applying and saying, hey, let me come in here and show y'all what I can do physically, show you what I can do mentally, interview, and then I would just get the letter back going, no, we've decided to go, and it made zero sense to me.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So, and again, I think that's changed a lot. For a lot of different reasons, but definitely in certain industries back in early 2000s, and definitely before that, you had to have some type of in or some type of referral, I guess, that would help you get in. And if you got 2,000 people applying for 20 jobs, they're gonna go, hey, that's my nephew. Okay, give him one.
No,
That's
you're
my
right.
such and such. Give him one. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that or heard. Yeah, I'm sure you've
I
heard of things
have.
like that.
I
Yeah.
have. When I went through the apprenticeship for AC refrigeration, you know,
Okay.
my dad did it for what 20, 30 years. And it was what you're speaking of is like a fraternity, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and I mean, when you're a part of something, like I would imagine had you went the entertainment route with your dad's background, they would have welcomed you to a certain extent. And excuse my ignorance in that because I don't know the whole story, but you don't really, I don't want to say you take it for granted, but because it's not even handed to you, you don't understand what someone like you, like what you went through with law enforcement. You don't understand what a stranger would have to go through to get it. That I didn't understand that.
Right.
When I went into the apprenticeship, you know, these dudes are showing up for like this group interview. It's like a panel that interview you to even get in. These dudes are showing up with like, I'm not joking, like jeans, construction boots, and like a checkered button down. I came, if you tell Keith Bowers, hey, you have an interview with a group panel, this can make or break, you know, and at this time I had a family already. I was like, I can't mess around.
Right.
I came with a suit on. And I
Yeah.
remember my dad was like, well, you're way overdressed. This is a blue collar job. I was like, I don't care. And you're like, but when I got there, these guys already, they were giving me the nod, which was cool. It's good, right? I won. But there was a little bit of me that was like, nah, I wanted to like work to get it. Like, you know, I had already had some roadblocks as we all do early in life, but you're right. Like it was already known. Like, oh, you're Hollis Bowers' son. Oh, hey,
Right.
you were at the barbecue when you were 12. You remember that? And it was like, oh, I think I already got this. You know, but I still gave it my 110%. So yeah, no, I think you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to believe that, or sometimes people use it, not you, but use it as an unlegit excuse. But it's true. Any job I've had, you know, with retail, I mean, you're a lot like me. Like we're resourceful, like you said, with the banking job. Friends, hey, we can get you in over here. And I'm sure anyone listening to this knows dang on well, most jobs that you got, good ones, were jobs that somebody, I want to say, I'm trying to fight the word hook you up, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you got hooked up. It's all in who you know. So it does you, it does you no service to be a deaf mute and just go on, you know, well, I did very well on the test. And it's like, okay, that's one aspect of it, but who knows you? Like I had one guy tell me, like, we know you, and that's why we chose you. I mean, you did great on the test, but we wanted to see if you'd be one of us. And I was like, one of you? I ain't one of you, but I know how to play the role, you know, I mean, kind of like a chameleon.
And that's a huge part of, I think, just society in general. And again, not knocking anybody for it. That's just, and I think, and from what I've heard, and you can even see this in, you know, entertainment or just people talking, that I know that law enforcement and like, you know, firemen, things like that was a really very cliquey type of thing. It's always been kind of said, you know what I mean? It's kind of been a one of the known secrets, I guess, you know, and it's like, oh, well, such and such is captain of this, so his nephew is going to be the next in charge, even if they may not be the most qualified. Again, not knocking anybody for that, but so I didn't have any connections. I had a little bit of because I did like what do they call internships at like police departments and things like that. So I had a couple internships. I had a couple officers that liked me, and they, you know, so there were some names there, but it wasn't anything like, hey, this person, you know, the hiring manager, tell that person that Tony is the next in line. You know, it wasn't anything that significant. So anyway, I just kept hitting roadblocks. It was never any, you did this wrong, that's why we didn't give you the job. I never really got that. I just got a lot of anonymous type of, thank you for applying, we appreciate you, and we want you to apply again next year type of stuff, right? And so it kind of went that way, and I started getting frustrated because, you know, you think you keep your nose clean, you're in shape, you're a smart guy, you're thinking, man, I can do this. Why am I not getting the job? Maybe it's just not meant for me. Maybe it's not meant for me to be in this type of career field. All the while, I'm working in banking. I've kind of moved up a little bit there at the branch. I moved around to I did a couple different banking jobs within the banking industry. So I was at like Union Bank and a couple other ones, big names, doing random stuff in random departments. And then I went back. I said, maybe if I go back to school, maybe that'll help, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get my master's. So I didn't get my master's at Long Beach State. I got my bachelor's. Go to New Mexico State. Shout out to my people over there.
How old are you at this point?
26. 26. I've already worked in banking. I've worked a little bit in the fraud department of banking. Actually, no, I didn't. I'm sorry. I worked a little bit of banking, and I worked a little bit of fraud. And I was doing at that time. I was assets protection manager for Target. So if you guys didn't know, every Target store has their own assets protection manager. So I was doing that while I was living in New Mexico too. And so I was going to school for that, and it was all great, all gravy. Everything was good. And then I got my master's, graduated from there, still applied for a few more jobs. Same type of thing happened. And at that point, I had walked into, a couple years before that, I had worked in the fraud department of the banking industry. So at that time, it was Countrywide, which turned into Bank of America. And I didn't even know they had fraud departments that were like full-on departments for banks when I first got into it. But then I went to asset protection, again, still thinking my ultimate goal is to be true law enforcement. And again, I kept hitting roadblocks, so I kept sticking with the banking industry. I went back to banking, and now I am, kind of just rode through that. And I've been in banking for 20-something years, and now I'm an investigations manager for a pretty significant bank. And so, I just kind of rode that out and found out that it's a pretty good industry, and I can find some growth in it. It still feels like you're law enforcement for the bank, but obviously I'm not a police officer. I'm not an FBI agent, but I work with a lot of those people. I definitely talk to a lot of those individuals. We look at a lot of those things that they look at, and I didn't realize there was such a big career in this type of field. And they call it like BSA, Bank Secrecy Act. Every bank has one, and it's huge now. And so, I just leaned into that, and it's been a great career for me, and I continue to thrive in it. So it's going really, really well.
That's awesome, man. That's an awesome story. I do have a question. Now, you said you took a class at no. Like I always say, there's no surprises in this show. The goal is just to get more information. You said back in Ohio State, you took a class, and that was the catalyst to the route you took. What did you hear in that class that really, do you remember like a statement that you were just, or, who it was that was was it one day? Was it the course of that semester that formed this thought, or, what was it?
Yeah, I think it was just the whole course of the semester, just sitting in that class and learning about the criminal justice field, like everything about it, even like, and they talked about the different aspects of it too. So not just the law enforcement aspect, but the litigation aspect and the trial aspect, things like that. And all that stuff was just interesting to me. And I just leaned in and was like, oh man, that's cool. Like I never wanted to be a lawyer. I had thought about that years before, and I was like, nah, that's just not me. And then when I hear of these different positions of people doing, drug stuff and drug bust and things like that, I'm like, that's cool. And I know it's not like the movies. There's a lot of report writing. There's a lot of things that go into that, right? It's not like I watched Sicario and was like, yeah, I want to be that. But it was just very interesting. And I said, well, let me look and see what type of careers are out there. And I did that. And I said, I think I could do this. And I stuck with the criminal justice thinking, okay, if I get, they say you pick a major, and if you don't end up liking it, you switch out and this and that. But I found myself really, really into it because I wasn't the greatest student growing up. I wasn't bad. I was just kind of like middle tier, right? Like floating around 3.0 all the time, a little bit under, a little bit high, but it was never like this 4.0 student because I wasn't really in the school like that. Right. So I did enough to make sure I could play on the basketball team, to make sure that I got into college, all that stuff. But I wasn't like, oh my God, I love math and I love this and I love that. It just wasn't me. So I was a good student, but I definitely wasn't like a valedictorian. But when I went to college, same thing. I was a good student. But then when I got into my major, which was criminal justice, A's all across the board because I was so into it. So that showed me there that this is kind of my calling, because my focus was there. Now I'm getting a 4.0, like, which is, I never had that.
Right.
And I'm like,
No, that's
so
definitely that's definitely a sign when you,
right.
yeah, especially for what you're saying, you were 3.0, sometimes below, sometimes above, to
Yeah.
start hitting the 4.0, like, oh, the pattern has changed. What changed? I'm actually doing something that I'm
I like.
truly interested in.
Right, and it didn't even seem difficult. While you're sitting next to the person next to you, going, "Man, I failed the test, and I did this," and I'm like, "Man, I aced it." Why? Because I loved what I was hearing, and so
That's what I was about to
yeah,
say. There's people who are, but there's people who are doing or going into certain jobs or careers because, like you said, like my dad did it, or my uncle, or whatever, or my parents say this is a good job. You're going, I won't say you're doomed, like you're going to fail, but you're not going to do as well as something you are genuinely interested in.
right.
To speak on my brother Kelly, I remember years ago, he was thinking of I think he was already in the apprenticeship. When I say apprenticeship, for everybody who doesn't know, it's a 5-year program, 2 nights a week. You go to school through a union. Ours was Local 250. And, you come out, you're quote unquote a journeyman, and anyway, pay increases throughout the whole thing. But there was a point where he was looking to get out of it. And I guess this kind of takes me into a short story of who I was. But when I was in high school, I was a good dude for the most part. I really was. But my parents were really strict. I was their first daughter. So I always say that. So during this time, the one punishment they could give me that was like the death sentence was, oh, okay, your curfew was, because my dad was just this way. Yeah, 12:45. I said, why not just 1 a.m. just to be a jerk? Not 12:45. And I'm like, he's still this way today with his own personal life, and that's all I'll say. But I said, okay, so if I came home at 1:15, all right, well, I'm on call next weekend, so you know what you're going to be doing? And I'm like, no. That meant I would be riding with him, and it's what I do now. Like, we lived in Palmdale, California, and it'd be like, if there's a call in Long Beach, we roll, me and him, I'm in the passenger seat rolling to Long Beach to do a job with him. And it was terrible. But and I mean, we get the call at 11 a.m. I'm with him at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., dirty, oil on me, doing a job, changing out what's called a compressor, which is like the engine of the system for those that don't realize what I'm talking about. Changing out an engine of a car, basically. But picture like 10 engines in one room. And I just hating life, and this is before cell phones and all that. So nobody's texting me like, hey, fool, we're at the party. But you just knew because you had talked about it at school. Like, hey, everybody's going to such and such, or, Bad Boys is coming out, whatever, the first Bad Boys, But you know who loved every bit of this? And while they're handing me the punishment, would be like, can I go? Can I go too? Can I go too? Kelly. And I'd be like, you're a weirdo. I'm like, how? But it draws on, I bring it up for a point. I hated it. I won't say how I feel about it now. Hey, family's good. Family's good. But he loved it. And loved it for many years. If he would go just because, I get to go with daddy, yeah. And I'm like, make me cuss. Yeah, right. I'm like, go for it. You can have it. It's a 2-seater. That means I can't go, and I know I came in late last night. So if they letting you go, that means they don't know about it. But anyway, my point is, when you love what you're doing, how blessed you have to be to already, with coincidence, I guess, love what you're doing, and you can build a career off of it. There's a lot of people that, I want to be a rapper. I want to be, I want to be in the circus. Like, may work, may not. Yeah. There's a lot of people that think they're going to be in the NBA, very small list. But if you got something that's a good career and you happen to love it, you have no choice but to be great at it. You're gonna make it. If it,
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And it's one of those things where if you love it, you try to make a career out of it. And most of the time, the things that people love are very hard to get into because a lot of other people love it, right? So, like movies, I want to be an actor. Okay, there's a bunch of actors that
Right.
want to be actors that are working as waitresses right now at restaurants and things like that. And again, nothing wrong with that hustle, that grind, but it's a very difficult path to go through. And if you listen to somebody like Steve Harvey, they might say there is no secondary thing. Focus on that only. But then you got a bunch of people there's a bunch of actors out there that probably gone now that never even got into a movie because they just been, grinding their whole lives, but never found that career that satisfied them outside of trying to be that. And I think you mentioned it on your podcast, the last podcast that I listened to, that I think you said your daughter was into a lot of different things. And you're like, that's cool. Be into those things, but also have your plan or your backup plan, something like that to that effect.
Yeah.
So, and I've always been a big proponent of that, where it's like, I'm not saying don't put all your eggs in a basket. I'm saying you have a passion, and I have my passions too, and we can talk about those as well. I have my passions and things that I want to be outside of criminal justice and banking fraud and all that. But my go-to and my support is that I can always rely on this banking and this fraud no matter what happens, and I can always try to do something different out there and lean into more of my personality or different things like that. And if it works, great, right? But if it doesn't, I know that I'm safe. I got enough money coming in. My family's supported, all that stuff.
Right.
So I think it's an interesting thing.
It's funny today. I was just thinking I had just got done making lunch for my daughter that's 16 years old. Still make her lunch. Not that she doesn't know how to. It's just, I don't know. With girls, it's just the way it is.
It's always a baby.
Yeah. She's the baby. She's a great kid. But I was looking at her, and these are the people that I'm making this podcast for the most part, besides the other reasons I've given. I'm like, what would she ask you today if she was interested in what you do? I mean, I already knew what you did,
Yeah.
And the one thing she asked me, she didn't even think about it. She was just like, what does he do? And I told her, and she was like, what's the hardest part about his job? Like what? Because she is at an age, like she tells me all the time, because she's such a free spirit and she plays a couple of instruments. And in my opinion, I would fund her 100%, drive her to her auditions, everything. Like talent wise, entertainment industry screams for her, even though she doesn't want to take a drama class to save her neck. But she asked me, she goes, what's the hardest part about his job? And I said, oh yeah, such a simple question. I was like, I will. She goes, I'm sorry if that's not a deep enough question. I said, no, it's perfect. What is the hardest part about your job today?
Hardest part about my job is probably sitting behind a desk.
Oh.
And some people are born to do the desk job. Some people can't stand them, right? So like a job like yours, you're not behind a desk. You're up in different areas. You might be up on a roof. You might be inside of like you said, building compressors and doing all that stuff. So you're not sitting down for hours on days looking at a computer screen and typing, even though that may be a small part of it. My job, that's a huge part of it, if not all of it. So a lot of times you're not, excuse me, a lot of times you are not out in the field doing anything physically except for sitting behind a computer looking at transactions, emails, talking to other law enforcement people, things like that. So a lot of reading and writing documents. So you're looking at a computer. So if you're somebody that can't look at a computer all day, banking and especially fraud and banking and report writing is just not your thing. That wouldn't be your vibe. So I think that's probably the hardest part for some people, and maybe so for me. I'm definitely a free spirit as well. So to get me in, I work from home now too. So that's a whole other thing. I used to be in the office around people, stuff like that. But since the pandemic, things have changed, and I can still go into an office, but it's a long drive away from me.
Where's your office at?
It's deep in LA, over in a city called Gardena.
Which is, and you're in where? Simi Valley, right?
I'm in Simi Valley, so it's an hour to get there if I leave at 5 a.m.
I was about to say you'd have to leave at 5 straight
Yeah,
up.
leave at 5:30 at the latest. Take me an hour, and no matter what time I leave, even if it's at 3 o'clock, an hour and a half to get home. So,
Oh, eat more, man.
yep.
I
So
know
I
that
don't.
drive. Were you, or is your office near the Nissan building?
Don't know where the Nissan building
Oh,
is. It's
it's
right
right off
off
the
of.
freeway. I mean, well, I
Okay.
don't know anymore, but
Yeah, it might not be there.
yeah, since I was a little kid, if we was rolling to the Delamo Mall, taking the
Oh, okay.
110 South,
Yep.
you look
Yep.
off to the
Well,
left before you hit the 405, and the Nissan building was right there
it
all the
might. It
time in
might be there.
Gardena.
I will have to look next time I roll over there and see, because I would, like I said, I just be rolling in and rolling out. But it's
Yeah, it's a high rise.
right off of Western over there, off the 405. So,
Oh, okay.
uh, yeah, so it's a far drive, so I don't go in as often as I used to. And this just changed over the last like 6 months. But so being home, being behind a computer, not seeing a lot of people, things like that, that'd probably be the hardest part for a social butterfly person like me that like to be out and stuff like that. You can always, you have your teams meetings and all that stuff, so you can see people, you can call people, all that, but you're behind that desk, so that's probably the
That's
most
tough.
difficult part. And as far as the job goes, probably just piecing things together. So you really are an investigator when you're looking at financial crime, and you're trying to put things together and organize things. And there's a lot, obviously with banking, there can be a lot of transactions, and certain businesses have thousands of transactions per month, and you're trying to weed through that stuff and figure out, okay, where's the fraud? And so finding that is basically playing detective on these investigations. So
Have
you're
you
looking in there
the
and
question
finding
that the hold on now I just got a vibe off of what you just said, trying to find out of thousands of transactions. I'm gonna ask you an honest question, Tony Ward.
Yeah.
How many
Sure.
people have you sent to jail?
That is a good question. You know what? I don't know, because how it works.
I was looking for a number, like 52. Like, okay.
No, I know it had. I know it's got to be at least like in the 20s,
Mm.
just because sometimes you get some follow up. But what happens is in banking, when you work for the banks, you're basically you're finding the fraud, and then you're submitting those reports to law enforcement, and then law enforcement goes on and does what they do. And so whether or not you hear about it, you may, if you search the name later on, you might see a news story like, oh, such and such went to jail. But obviously that's only on like big cases.
Right.
So
Right.
every single time, they're not going to tell you, say, thanks, Tony, for sending this over to us. Put him in jail.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. So if you follow up, and we get so many cases that it's hard to follow up. But if you do your research and be like, I'm gonna Google if this random dude in Georgia, if his name pops up in the criminal justice system, then yeah, you can probably figure it out. But to be honest with you, I have no idea. But over the years I've been doing it, which is like 20, I probably put a few hundred people. It probably helped put a few hundred people in jail just based on my stuff, and then other things they probably found through other banks, and then law enforcement said, yeah, let's give this person some time, type of thing. But for sure, yeah, the ones I know about probably in the 20s somewhere.
So nobody
Something like that.
So nobody has your picture pinned up on a wall as they do pull-ups in a damp cell. Like,
probably only two people. Probably only two. I've gone
oh, there must be names. No.
I've gone
No
to trial.
Cape Fear situations.
I hope not. I've gone to trial on a couple of investigations that I did. So sometimes you got to go to trial, and they bring you in as a subject matter expert. And so because I did the investigation, and sometimes if I didn't do the investigation, it'd be just signing off on them. They bring me in, and then the person's there, and you're telling them, yeah, this is what we found, and that's it. But yeah, I doubt that anybody looked at me and said, I'm going to get that banker right there. But the times I've been in trial, then they could see like, oh, his investigation, along with many others and other banks, they all combined together to provide whatever they needed to put them away. So
everybody gets a choice. Everybody gets a choice.
I'm on somebody's hit list for sure. That's highly unlikely.
Oh man, that's funny.
But I was thinking about what you said and maybe this is a good question, and I'll let you decide if it is for future guests. But what it's kind of what sparked is what your daughter was saying a little bit, or what we were talking about with changing stuff, that I think that careers and people's desires of careers change too as they get older. I don't know if that's something you've
Yes.
experienced or heard about, but
Yes.
yeah, I think you're, at any age, you can go, I don't want to do this anymore, or I want to do this. And, I'll put it out there and say it's never too late. Certain things it might be like, I can't go be a gymnast because it's just not going to happen. I'm 43 years
Right.
old and I can be a gymnast, but I'm not going to be an Olympic gymnast, right? Just because it's just, my body ain't going to hold up strong enough. But other, realistic career goals, I think they do change, and stuff can happen over your lifetime.
No, I agree with that. I think I'll use a phrase and I'll explain myself. I think that's possible. You're never too old if you're graced to do that certain thing in the first place. Like what you said, you can't be an Olympic gymnast. Like, you're not graced to do that. There's people in their heart, they know they're not graced to do certain things. I don't know if it's narcissism or pride, if that's the same thing. They still go out for it anyway. Because I know my mama said I was funny. I'm going to be a comedian. And it's like, well, hold on. Like, you're not. In your heart you're not funny. But for those things that in your heart, like, it's easy to look at other people and tell them what they should be doing. At least I feel that way with my kids. Like, I can tell there's certain things, like with my daughters, where I can go, I just know if you put your hand to this, God will take you the rest of the way because you already have it. Like, that's what he gave you. And if it's your own body, like I know for myself, when it comes to people and connections and speaking to people, there are jobs, whether it's, well, not nowadays, I've been in the same career for a while, but early on in college, like there are jobs that they would say we need such and such years of experience, but because I know, and I know you're the same way, because we talk to people, we know how to talk to people. I got the pass anyway. We don't usually do this, Mr. Bowers, but so-and-so said you and him had a really good conversation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, shut the front door. Like, you learn what you need to lean into as time goes on. If you take pride and move it out the way because, your mama told you were going to be a such and such, or, I felt I was going to be a model and you're ugly,
Right.
Whatever it is. Well, now ugly's cool, right? Yeah,
Hey, you never know, man. You never know.
Face positive or whatever they're calling it. Anyway.
Is that what it is? Never heard
Yeah,
that one.
no, I don't want to get canceled. Let me shut up. No such thing as ugly people nowadays, right? I don't know.
No, everybody's beautiful.
Everybody's beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, no, as you go along and we all have them if you pay attention to them. There's certain things about you that you're going to be successful in a certain field regardless. I would love to interview a doctor, like somebody who these things only to me apply in intangibles. Like, if you were destined to be an actor, I shouldn't even say destined. I think graced is a better word. If you're graced to be an actor or an actress or whatever the case may be, there's things in the course of your life that let you know what? This isn't that big of a gamble. I'm good at this. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree, 100%. I'll give you a quick example if you don't mind.
Yeah.
For myself included, that is something for me when I was going to college, and this is back in the day, y'all. Remember, we older. So back in the day when I was in college, we didn't have, we had iPods at the time, but we didn't have Spotify. We didn't have Apple Music, right? So that stuff wasn't there. So when we were having parties, I would pull up my laptop and we'd be downloading stuff from Napster and LimeWire and wherever else you get music from. BearShare, yeah.
Winamp.
Yeah. So I had my Winamp pulled up and I would make a playlist on that. And that would be my thing where I would make the playlist and I'd go around to my parties. Most of the time we were hosting the parties, but I would have a party and or a friend was having a party. Hey, man, bring your computer with the playlist, right? Because I knew that I love music. I always stayed on top of whatever the hit songs were, or I just knew how to make a good playlist. And I would make CDs and stuff like that, right? But it never crossed my mind to consider to be a DJ. And like I said earlier in the podcast, I am a DJ on the side. But it never crossed my mind when I was 20 something to be a DJ, like early 20s, although I was the guy creating the music, right? So then after college, or a little bit during college, I was a club promoter in Hollywood. So I was in the mix of all these different clubs, constantly hearing music, constantly knowing DJs, all good. And so again, I was like, yeah, that song will probably mix good with that song. I didn't know how to do it though, right? I was just like, oh, I just knew my music, but I never thought about it until I got married, and then I met a bunch of different DJs for a wedding, and then I said, I started picking out playlists and doing this and that, and I said, okay, and I went to a wedding, not mine, but I went to a wedding after that where the DJ was trash, terrible, and I said, I wonder how hard it is to be a DJ because I've always been into music. I can talk with no problem in front of people. I'm going to see what's up. And then I went to DJ school. So it's one of those things where...
Wait. No. Yeah. You went to DJ school?
I went to DJ school, a place called Scratch Academy in L.A. I love it.
Wow.
It's
I didn't know
there.
this existed.
Yeah, but I didn't know either until that day. And this was about 16, 17 years ago now. And so, 16, 17 years ago, 2010. So, 2010? Yeah, anyway, somewhere around there.
There's people Googling what you're saying right now.
Yeah, please
DJ school.
Scratch Academy. They had one in LA. They had one in New York. It was.
I know they got one in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm sure they got them everywhere now, and they got a bunch of them. But back then, there wasn't many. And so I went to DJ school, and I said, and the reason was, I didn't want to bother anybody with it wasn't really a dream. It was just curiosity at that point. And I said, I want to learn how to mix two songs together. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I love music, but I've never done it. All I know is how to do is set up a playlist. And now with Spotify, you can, do all kind of crap. But back then, I didn't know how to do it. So I said, I didn't want to bother any of my DJ friends. I didn't want them to think I was trying to take gigs from them. Nothing like that, right? And I didn't have a close, that's my boy DJ friend. I had DJs that I knew and I was cool with them, but I didn't want to take their time away from whatever they had going on to teach me how to DJ. So I found a school. The school was part-time, something you could do on the weekends for a couple of hours every weekend for 4 or 5 months, and loved it. Loved every second of it. So Scratch Academy is great, and there's plenty of them out there now.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. So I went, and then after that, they teach you what to buy, get all this stuff. And then people start, hey, man, you want to do my birthday party? Hey, I'll try it. You want to do my wedding? Cool. And I start booking stuff. Now, again, like kind of what you said, it wasn't a plan of mine to become a DJ when I was a young person. Even when I was in my 20s, that wasn't a plan. But then something just, the grace, like you said, I was graced with this ability. And then I found myself just kind of navigating toward it as a side gig that could be, if I wanted to be, I could probably be a full-time DJ. It's just not my goal right now, but
no, I hear
it's something that's it just worked out because it's something that's in me,
That's what I was about to say. Cool. It wasn't work to accomplish it. I mean, yeah, everything is work if it's worth something, but you said earlier, roadblock after roadblock after roadblock with your other endeavors. This seemed I'm throwing myself in it. The things that I would say if I had it to do over again, there are certain things that I know now at my age they came easy to me. And because the way my parents, great parents, but I mean, something as simple as I can still remember they had this thing where my dad took statistics and they were like this with every math class. Oh, you taking algebra 2, Hollis, he's taking algebra 2. And it was like this big old fear factor, not the show, but just this level of fear and intimidation with it where they just made it this incredible thing. Wasn't necessarily so. So when anything that came easy to me was easy, sounds stupid to say that. I won't repeat that statement, but you know what I'm trying to say, people. Whenever something was easy, I was like, well, this must not be worth something because this came easy. I didn't even have to try. Wherein if I had it to do over again, hey, Dodo, the stuff that comes easy is perhaps what maybe you're supposed to do that. I didn't think that was the case because I'm like, no. If it's worth something, it's got to hurt.
it's got to be hard.
Yeah, it's got to be hard. It's got to be, wow, you were the 1 in 20 people out of 2,000 you got in. That's the only way you're going to see, success. And it's like, that's not necessarily so if you're graced to do something. I'm not telling you to become a professional DJ, but I have to imagine the wheels, at least for fun, maybe you would admit, the wheels were turning like, dang.
Right.
Huh.
And you lean into those things sometimes. And like I said, if I could go back, I would have leaned into that earlier because it was always in me.
Mm-hmm.
But especially the DJ and the music part. But I had just got married. I was kind of focusing on that life. Now I got kids and all that. I still do it. Don't get me wrong. So it's still something that I do on the side. I got a wedding coming up, but so it's fun there. But I couldn't imagine DJing and doing whatever I wanted to do when I was early 20s, going to Vegas, doing all this. I could meet people. I can make a connection.
Right.
That's easy. So to be like, hey man, let me get up in this club. Let me do this. Let me do that. Oh, if I was 20, single, oh man, it
would have been a wrap. Yeah.
It would have been like, okay, now I can really see what I can do with this. But as you get older and more responsibility, more bills, and more people to support, families, all this, and time, that stuff changes, especially in that type of field. So I was like, I'm just going to do it part time. Again, I could, if I wanted to stress myself out, I could make it a whole thing. But I'm not quitting my very secure job.
And there you go. Keyword secure. That's how it felt with commercial real estate. I was working alongside guys that were like 22 and not taking it serious. They're talking about, oh no, we're going to go to Old Town Pasadena after this, and I'm like. It was like Twilight Zone. Oh my gosh, I think I was in my 30s, and I was like, like you could, or instead of going to Old Town Pasadena, you could stay here and work longer. And they're like, work longer. I'm doing this because my uncle's a real estate agent, and my dad said this is a good career, and I'm like. I knew then, I'm like, oh, you're not graced to do this. You're doing this because somebody told you this was good to do. I'm doing this because I finally like the DJ thing. For my parallel to your DJ situation was what I felt with commercial real estate. I was like, oh my gosh, it's almost like a terrible movie where the man finds out that the treasure was there the whole time. He was just looking in the wrong box. Like,
right.
It's like, it's too late now. Cause like you said, married, you got kids. And with real estate, what people don't understand, especially people, and hear me, I've said this before, real estate people, they say I can do it part-time. You can. But any job part-time isn't going to be as fulfilling as full-time. Well, I'm just doing it for a little extra money. You just said it right there. You're doing it for a little extra money. You're not doing it because you love it or who loves real estate? I did. The idea, right. I met people that would show up in blue jeans and an old black T-shirt, but they would have that nice watch on them. That was always the giveaway, just, for you people in the restaurant industry or anything like that. You see the shabby dude that just happens to pay attention to brands. Don't be a snob and turn your nose up. I don't care about Gucci or whatever. No, look at what kind of watch he has on. That's usually the tail. Anyway, I found it so interesting to hear someone's story, like what we're doing right now, to hear that verbatim from a dude who owned 150 apartment buildings. I'm like, how do you didn't win the lottery? The lottery doesn't offer enough money for you to buy 150 apartment buildings. I'm sorry, it never has, at least in California. So that stuff was very interesting, but the fact that you still get out and do the DJ situation, from time to time, that has to be fulfilling. That has to kind of balance with the being stuck at a desk.
Yeah, that's exactly why I do it, because I have a pretty big personality, and a lot of it doesn't get to shine through in my regular 9 to 5. And obviously, when I'm off work, I do what I do with my family and my friends and all that. But I found something very fulfilling years ago, and this is before I had kids. But I was married, but it's still before I had kids. I found something very fulfilling in DJing and putting myself out there and using my personality. And so even if I could get a little taste of that, I I don't care about the money. I'm not saying I don't appreciate it, because I do, but I appreciate the money that I make from DJ, the little extra money, kind of like you were saying, like a part-time gig, and I'm just doing it for a little extra cash. I'm doing it for way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
The extra cash is great, but it also allows me to fulfill some type of itch that I need to scratch.
Peace of mind.
And that itch is me being out there, being social, being in front of a crowd, making people dance. You know, sometimes people think DJs are like the life of the party. I'm like, man, some people don't even look in my direction, but they're dancing all night to my music, and that's something that's cool. And so,
that's dope, man.
So when you have a job like mine, which is a pretty, you know, my bank job is a pretty serious, you know, behind the desk, behind the screen job. There's not a lot of jokes getting cracked, and it's that I have a great team of people I work with, but it's just, you don't get to shine your personality a lot. And if there's anything that I could bring to my plate to allow me to do that, that's helpful. That's why I have a podcast. That's why I DJ on the side. That's why I have YouTube stuff coming, you know, so that's just fun to me and things that I can do in my spare time. So I think some people have that security in certain jobs, and then you also have to find that itch that you may have, even though you didn't become an NBA player, right? Let's just say, we talked about that earlier. Somebody had dreams of being an NBA player, didn't work out. Now they work at whatever, right? They work at whatever job, 9 to 5. You still get out there and want to play ball now and again because you love basketball.
Right.
Even though you have the top, I'm not Tiesto performing at Wonderland or whatever they call these big festivals.
Right.
But
right.
hey,
EDM,
this wedding of 300 people was rocking last Saturday. So guess what? I feel good with that. And I made, you know,
there's no shame in that at all. That's awesome.
So,
I think majority of people, not just our age, but people who, you know, got a same situation, kids, family, life, work, they're not doing that, you know, but they know in their heart they were graced to do something that they're probably not doing. You know, like you said, it's not too late. It doesn't mean that you're going to quit your job and make a mission statement on your LinkedIn that you have changed, you know.
right.
Do it a little at a time. Like I tell my kids, if it's something that doesn't pay right away, that's fine. Fund your business. You fund your business with your 9 to 5. You know, you can decide your business, quote unquote, is whatever you want it to be. But you fund it with your 9 to 5. Pay your bills with your main deal. You know,
right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you want to be an underwater basket weaver, that's fine. You fund that business with your 9 to 5. I have a question. We're getting to the end of this, folks. And I asked this question because it's near and dear to my heart, because I know I felt it and kind of sets the tone. Hold on. Before this question, and someone's probably already thinking this out there, what was or what is your DJ name when you're out there? Who are we checking for? Who are we checking for if we happen to be at the club?
And my DJ name, you know, when I do weddings and stuff, it's just DJ Tony. But
it's supposed to be Tony Tone, never leaving the girls alone.
No. But the one that I use for the clubs and stuff like that is DJ YNOT. So
okay, all right.
YNOT, which is Tony spelled backwards. So that's how that works. So Tony spelled backwards is why not?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, people. I know there's people writing it down right now. Yeah. Oh yeah, why not? I never saw.
DJ Why Not? So that's my name.
Okay.
Like I said, when I do a lot of private events and stuff like that, so I put it in you know, quotation marks. But most of the time it's DJ Tony. But if I could do a club, DJ Why Not? Come find me.
Nice. And then a question that I'm going to start asking everybody. I just had this thought a while back. Have you ever had a job so bad you forgot you were getting paid to do it? Now, if I need to explain, it's cool. But maybe you already know what I mean.
So bad you forgot you were getting paid? Yeah, explain it a little bit.
Okay. So, I'll bring one scenario up. I mean, it may be daily for some people or for yourself. For me, it was daily. I was doing construction, and we were working in downtown LA at the Cooper building. This fashion. It's in the fashion district. FIDM. I don't even know if it's still around. FIDM Fashion School. So there's this building where different companies, Levi's, all these different companies have a room. Like picture not even a mall, but anyway, like an office building, but each floor has like 3 different stores, but they aren't stores. They just show their samples. So they sell these samples at the Cooper building. Levi's, I keep saying Levi's because that was the one I liked the most. They had it was dope. They had Japanese denim, like real denim. Why it's special, I don't know. Okay, the people, they hyped it up to me. All I knew was, hey, I got these $400 jeans for $50. But anyway, so we were doing a job there. It was this job started you had to be there at 4:30 a.m. and you got off at like 12:30 or something, which is common for doing construction with my field, with AC. So, which if you're there at 4:30, that means ready to work at 4:30. Now, you had your tools and all your stuff, so you had to really get there at 3:30 because you got to get on an elevator. You got to check in with security and make sure you're not some crazy person looking to shoot up the place, all that good stuff. Now, in the middle of all that, we had this dude, I won't say his name. He's an old man. He's still around. But this dude was a jerk and a half. If you pissed him off, if he said, hey, I want you to go down 8 feet, with copper pipe, okay? And I know there's a group that knows what I'm talking about. I want you to go down 8 feet. That way, and then you're going to cut 90, go down 6 feet, and then you're going to come 3 feet, make like a half circle, let's just say. And that's what I need you to do. Now, 4 hours later, he would come around and he'd have his tape measure and he'd measure out and he'd just kind of shake his head like, okay. Well, I did fine with all that. That was fine. We call it burning pipe. It's not a title for a movie.
Hey, that sounds like somebody's nickname in college, brother.
Yeah, don't put that in your search bar. You might pull up something different. But so this dude would throw people's tools. I'm not joking. And anyway, this dude would throw people's tools off the roof. It always, just the cartoon watching person in my mind, the comedy person in my mind, I'm like, it hit somebody this time. The wrench had to have hit somebody this time. He would be like, hey, I told you to go off 8 feet this way, such as turn this way, and then boom, 90 this way. Why am I looking at blankety blank 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 blah blah blah? And the guy would be like, I thought I did it right. Like if you gave him a dumb person answer, he'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And he would go off like picture Joe Pesci, Goodfellas, Casino, go off, and he would grab some of your tools and just start chucking them into the street from like the 20th floor because we were on a rooftop. And I was like, this dude is a nut. Well, one day, so this was that job. One day he goes, hey, Bowers. And I'm like, yeah. And like, I was a good dude. Like, even though I won't say I felt I was above the job, I knew, I'll say it. I felt I was above the job. This is bullshit. Like, if I didn't have a family, oh my God, I'd be out. But Christmas is in 2 months, so can't do that. He goes, hey, I need you manhole cover, okay? The only people I knew that went under the manhole cover was the Ninja Turtles. I had never been in one in my life. And this dude was like, I need you to go down and I need you to crawl, okay? And he goes, there's going to be probably dead rats and piss and blah, 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 blah down there. And like in my mind, I'm like, goes back to when you were 19 with the mail. Like, hey, I quit. I got bigger goals. But guess what? I got a family and some kids that are like, Daddy, Shrek 2 comes out next week. And I'm like, I don't have that option anymore. So whatever this mildly racist guy, which he was, I'll say that. I didn't say his name. Because I won't say what he used to say to the Mexican people. Like, how this man even still has a job, because I know he's not retired yet. Anyway, he goes, I need you to go down. I need you to tell me, it was like a 30-foot run. I need you to tell me what you see down there. I need to know how long this is, how long that is. Now, this is when cell phones, people using them, the pictures and the cameras for, work was kind of new. And this dude was old school, right? So he goes, I need you to go down. You're going to get filthy. You're going to get dirty. And I need you to go down there, dig through the poop and the pee and all that and the dead rats. And, and I could tell he's saying this to discourage me. And I was like, you know what? All right. I got you. It's cool. So I jump down there and I see the other people's reactions too. Like, oh, that's jacked up. Like, just like somebody about to get in a fight in elementary school, like, ooh, it was that kind of thing. And I was like, you son of a gun. I said, you know what? I said, yeah, no problem, sir. And he's like, oh, no problem, huh? And I was like, oh, you're trying to get a rise out of me. I was like, oh, okay. I said, I'm above this, but it's cool. I jump down, I take video, I take pictures, I get his measurements he wanted, I write it in my phone. I was down there for like 10 minutes. I come back up, filthy, the whole nine. He didn't know I stay G'd up from the feet up. I had a change of clothes in the car with wipes. I made sure I stayed clean no matter what. And I came back up. I was like, okay, sir, the measurements are by. He goes, are you sure? I mean, what kind of pipe? And he's going on down the line. I said, oh, no. And I break out my phone and I start showing him everything. I said, here's a bird's eye view. Here's everything you're looking at. The looks on those same faces that went, were like, he got him. I heard one dude say, he got him. And I was like, that's right. That's right. Like just that old school Ice Cube. That's right. I was like, yeah, that's your ass. I was like, yeah. And the dude was like, good man. His face was blood red. He was so embarrassed. I was like, but in that moment, that's what I mean by what I say. I don't just tell a story to whimper and whine. In that moment, I forgot I was getting paid for that job. It just felt like I was in the military or something where it was just like, nah, it's just some mess you got to do. You peeling potatoes. Like, you're not thinking about, oh, this means we can go on that vacation. Nah, this is just, I got punished. Right. Like, I'm grounded. So this is what I'm doing. I'm in a manhole cover. That's what I mean by that. Is there any job you had where it was like, life must get better than this? Oh, you handed me a check. That's right. That's why I'm coming here. I forgot. My bad. Yeah,
it would probably be, that's a good story that you just told. That's funny. But it would probably be when I worked security. So I was a security guard for about 8 months. And this was due to me getting married and needing some extra money for the wedding, right? We had this big wedding we wanted to have. And I said, let me get a little extra money because this is going to put me in a broke house if we pay for all this crap. So I did a security job. So signed up for whatever, Universal Security or something like that. It was called Top Flight. And I was sent to different locations like every weekend because, again, it was part-time. And sometimes at night. So a couple of times, I'll give you two quick stories. The first one was they sent me to a warehouse that was being built way out past like Valencia, where you used to live. Mm-hmm. I think it was Castaic Lake is what they call it, over there somewhere. Wow. So way out there somewhere, and it was some abandoned, brand new buildings that they were building, and I guess they had some problems with people stealing the tools and things like that as they were doing this construction. And as it was raining the last week or so, they said we need a security guard posted up front. Now, when I tell you I pulled up in front of this building, and I needed somebody there for nighttime. So this is from 8 at night until like
How did I know that was the situation before you said it? Yeah.
And when I tell you I pulled up, it looked like a scene from a horror movie like this. Somebody gonna come and kill me. And it's pouring rain. And so every 15 minutes I had to do rounds in this big, huge industrial plant. It had a roof and stuff on it, so I wasn't getting wet, but you had to walk around this very dark, very silent place. And it had it was 3 stories or whatever. Man, when I tell you I was walking through this thinking somebody was going to jump out and kill me because they already said they got robbed, right, a couple of times. So I'm thinking that somebody's showing up. And I wasn't armed security. It was just like you basically witness something and you write a report down.
I see you. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So outside of that, you sit in your car for 15 minutes and then you do your rounds, right? You sit in the car, do your rounds, sit in the car. And so, like I said, pouring rain. And I had a DVD player, right? Because that was kind of keeping me some company, and I had some movies playing or whatever while I was sitting in my car because there really nothing else to do.
Right.
And every time, because it was, I mean, when I say pouring rain, pouring rain. So every time I did the windshield wipers to clean out the window just to make sure, I thought somebody was going to be in front of my car just standing there ready to kill me, like Jason, Every time. I was like, I'm out there for 8 hours freaking out the whole time, man. I'm not a scary dude like that, but that night, man, anything. A rabbit could have jumped on the car, I would have drove off. So that was one night that I was just like, why y'all got me out here doing this? But like you said, oh yeah, I get a check at the end of this.
Yeah, man.
So that was one of those jobs. And then another quick story, same job, different location. I'm in Sherman Oaks, California by the Galleria. And there's a big, tall Chase building there. I think it was Chase. And it had like a 5-story parking garage. And they were doing construction on the top of this garage. And so they had a barrier that was blocked off, and a lot of people walked through there because it was a bank. And they had a barrier that was blocked off, and they said, we need a security guard there telling people, do not go this way, go back around the other way, which was very, it wasn't good for people that was in a rush, let's put it that way. Like if they said, go back that way, you're like, man, that's going to waste another 5 minutes of my time. Sorry, you got to walk that way because something could fall off the roof, or, one of Keith's old coworkers could be throwing tools off.
Right.
It was kind of like that situation, right? Rocks could fall, whatever. So when I tell you the level of disrespect that people give to these security guards, man, it ain't like I'm standing there and they're like walking. This is something that people do every day. They go to this way when they park their car. They walk this way. They walk past this way, and there's a little tape and me standing there going, "Excuse me, sir, you can't go this way. You got to turn around and go the other way. There's construction happening on top." Yeah, okay. Just walk right past me, lift up the thing, and I can't touch them. And I'm like, all right, next person come up. Hey, excuse me, man, we can't do that. Okay, yeah, F you. Walk by. Dang. I'm like, no, there's no respect. And again, I'm just a security guard with no gun, so there's really no authority
They
there.
give you a whistle, Tony.
But they did not give me a whistle.
I ain't give you a whistle. You had to shout. Hey.
No, sir. I had to shout, hey. And I'm standing right there. I'm not a small guy. And they walk right by me like I didn't even exist. Like, shut your butt up. We out of here. I'm going the way I want to go. And you ain't going to stop me. And I can't. So it was, as much as you want to just put your hand on somebody to go, hey, man, I said you can't go this way. You can't. So, for Rock, I was hoping one of them tools would come down. But yeah. So that's kind of the job where, I was frustrated at times, but again, at the end of the day, it was helping me pay for a wedding. I was getting a check, and it did just that. So it was what it was. But yeah, they respect your security guards, people. Stop treating them disrespectfully. Walking past.
It's in the name. They're security guards. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Guarding your security.
Man, no respect, Doc. No respect.
All right, man. Well, hey, I want to thank you for coming through. You've been on here a minute. It's family day. I could go on forever. You left one job out. I will say that. One that I know about personally, and every once in a while it's on TBS. Can you guess what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're probably talking about my acting job, my short acting career.
Yeah, what was this?
I was in City Slickers, everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, City Slickers. I was sitting next to, I was in the classroom scene where Billy Crystal was talking in front of his class, and Jake Gyllenhaal was his son in that movie, and I sat right next to him, a little bit behind him, so we were probably 11 at the most. And yeah, man, I should have made friends with him because that dude is doing big things, man. So
yeah,
but yeah, my acting career didn't last too much longer after that.
Right, you weren't graced to do it.
Yeah, I guess not. I guess
right
not at that point in my life. So, but no, I appreciate you having me on, man. This has been awesome. And hey, congratulations on starting the show and getting everything up and running. It's great. I've listened to every episode.
Thank you. You got a lot more episodes than me.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful concept. I love it, and I appreciate you having me on, man. This is awesome.
No, man, thank you for taking the time. You'd be amazed maybe you won't be amazed how tough it is to get guests on here. Yeah. Everybody's like, I don't have anything to say, or what are you going to ask me? I'm like, nobody believes me. I'm like, no, literally, what did you want to be? What do you do now? What happened in the middle? Very simple. It sounds boring or dull, but I mean, I would imagine, I know with this episode, I can already tell, very entertaining. I mean, it opens the door for so many conversations. There's so many things I know I'm leaving on the table even now as I speak, as we're closing out, because I mean, you could go on forever with this stuff, with just life experiences.
Sure.
But yeah, no, thank you so much, man. And I can't wait to be on your podcast, because I will say I definitely I definitely got a story or three of that pertain to the material that y'all discuss. From what
Perfect.
You guys go to it. What is it? Say it again. Dad's Whiskey Cave, right?
Dad's Whiskey Cave. Yeah, we try new whiskeys every week, and we tell some fun stories and talk about daddy stuff. So it's a good time. So you're perfect to be a guest. So yeah, we can't wait to have you
man,
on.
I got plenty of dad stories, boy, and I got girls. Yeah, I know how to braid hair and know how to, all that good stuff. All that good stuff.
I know. Can't wait to have you on.
Right on, man. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you're driving, drive home safe. And leave a comment if you enjoyed what you heard today. Leave a comment, please. And remember to go to Dad's Whiskey Cave. I believe there's no such thing as not shouting out a fellow podcaster. You can't listen to two podcasts at the same time, but you definitely listen to more than one. So there's no reason to not shout out different podcasts that you love. And I like Tony's a lot. You guys do a really good job. It's entertaining, it's funny, and I put my name on it. When I say I put my name on it, that means it's good stuff. I'll speak to it. So if you got a problem, you leave it in my comment. I didn't enjoy that. I know you won't say that, but no, I really enjoy their podcast. So go check it out. Seriously, go check it out. Anything else you want to shout out? Your kids selling candy bars or anything? Or
No. Nothing like that at this time. Just love my kids, love my family, and I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Right on, man. All right, Tony. We'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right.